Hello, Padmaja ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. For everyone, we have Miss Padmaja today, who's the co-founder of the Indian Angel Network and also the founding partner at the IAN Fund. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
So, ma'am, I'll quickly jump to some of the burning questions that all of us founders we've been kind of talking about on our WhatsApp groups and in our social networking or the online networking that we're now doing, which is that in these times, if you are funded and you have the cash to run you for a few months or maybe a year, then it's decently easier to decide how to go about it. But for businesses that function on a very month-on-month P&L kind of an arrangement where you earn in a month and then you spend and then you earn and spend, what are some of the top three things that you can suggest that we should do? Difficult decisions or easy ones, but how do we get past this stage?
So yes, I completely understand it's very difficult, and my heart goes out to all you startup entrepreneurs because this is unprecedented times in our lives. We've never seen this, right? So the very fact that you're standing there and just trying to grapple with the situation, a huge respect and doff my hat that all of you are taking it so bravely. But the three things I would say is cash is king. In these times, cash is king and cash is king. There is nothing else that is more important. So, what the objective is to really stay afloat. You're not likely to grow, revenues are probably dipping dramatically. Just your ability to stay afloat and come out standing at the other end of the COVID tunnel, right? That is what is most important. So, question every expense, right shift anything that can be shifted, okay, and any revenues or advances that you can get, whether it's grants, whether it's advances to your customer from your customers, or anything you can get, left shifted. Just try and move that is what is today the most important piece. Whatever you need to do in your organization to get cash in, or constrain the cash within your organization, that's all that's required right now. I think focusing on growth, don't do it right now. First, stay afloat. If you're not going to exist, you're not going to grow. That's the logic.
True, ma'am. True, ma'am. So I've been talking to a lot of founders in this time, and for the ones who are able to do it, they're doing that, which means there are layoffs happening. There are salary cuts that are being done for senior management, different levels, junior staff, different levels, and so on. With these kind of things, how do you see the unemployment rate suddenly going, and when do you see this stabilizing again?
That's a question I think nobody in the world knows right now, because we really don't know what's hit us, right? I mean, what is coronavirus? How did it come? What is the vaccine? Will it come back? I mean, there are all sorts of questions that are there. Uh, I mean, honestly, living in a lockdown, social distance the way we are, it's not going to work in the long run, right? So there has to be a solution to social distancing. I think we all have to get back back into life. Yes, it's not going to be normal. It's going to be a new normal of how we live and operate. But when, how, I think it's too early. You're all still grappling with the situation. But what it does say is the when is difficult, but it's important to think about how are we going to go. COVID is going to end. We have to, that's true, right? So what are we going to do when it ends? What are the first few steps we're going to do? How are we going to handle it, right? Life would have changed in
Absolutely,
some ways.
absolutely.
So, many of you would have reduced your teams, your resources, your ability to grow. But with the with the restricted resources, with the restricted teams, with part timers, etc., what's your plan when you start going forward? When you start taking your first step from becoming static to moving? So, I think this is the time to sort of think through what you're going to do next. How is there a business plan pivot that you want to do? This is an opportunity for that, right? This is an opportunity to think through what kind of a strategy is now going to work. This is the time to talk to your customers and actually help them. You may not get revenues from them, but this is your time to reach out and get engaged with them and help them, because that is something they will remember when you go out to get orders with them, right? This is the time to sit with your employees and say, while yes, I am reducing your salary, but listen, where do you need help? How can I help you? There is a company I know who has a whole lot of people who are from the Northeast. Just couldn't go back. And they said, forget money, we don't even know how are we going to get food, right? So they actually provided food and some facility for them to stay in the city. So they were more than grateful for that. So now think about this group of people. They're going to say, listen, when we didn't have a roof over our head and when we didn't have food to eat, these people actually stood by us.
Absolutely,
Right?
ma'am.
So this is the time to build that empathy, that bonding, think what you couldn't think in your daily rush of operations, to rethink your strategies, rethink how you could do, suppose, something differently. If you're offline, how are you going to take it online? Offline is going to take longer, online is already functional, right? What can you do? Those are the kind of things that I think this is in some ways God sent to just sit down and rethink what you want to do and how you want to make it.
No, this is very helpful information, ma'am, because my next question was going to be about the employee motivation. For the ones who are remaining, they have this job insecurity now because, they are seeing massive layoffs and pay cuts and they don't know what next. So definitely helping them with some of these other things. This is a very good input. And I think we should think more like, yeah.
Yeah, and even those who stay on, who you are retaining, okay, and even those who you are retrenching, create a model of incentives. That listen, if you guys go get an order, here is a percentage of the cash that we get from that order. We'll give it to you. Even if I'm retrenching you and you get an order, listen, I'll give you 5, 6, 10%, whatever whatever you guys want. What happens is that they are motivated to do something, right? Person who's sitting at home doing nothing and getting nothing, he says, okay, I have nothing, but suppose I get them an order of 10 lakhs and I get a 10%, right? I can survive with a lakh. You see, you're suddenly moving things in the right direction, and anyway, you wouldn't have got that order, right? So it's a bonus in some ways for you in today's world.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. Ma'am, with so many changes happening, we've also installed a lot of work from home apps and monitoring and tracking mechanisms, which we otherwise didn't need because we were face to face working in a regular office. But now with this lockdown, 21 days, and then it might just get extended also. Do you think a lot of these would become like the normal, or the work from home model is not something that can stay for long?
No, I think work from home, a lot of people I'm talking to are enjoying it. Okay. You're out of traffic, you're able to be more focused, all of that. And lockdown has some other things which is obviously impeding it. You're not allowed house help and all that. So people are having to do a lot of the housework. But that's not going to be the normal, right? That will change. But I think the work from home in some ways will continue. People will say, okay, I'm going to work for a day at home, 2 days a week, so that I can get a lot of my stuff done. I'm going to work half day. Maybe some people will prefer to work home. That opens up a much larger talent pool for the startups, which can come at a slightly lower cost, right? So these things will start emerging.
Right. And ma'am, any silver lining in this dark cloud for the founders? I mean, founders are like born optimists, so they will anyways try to find something. Coming from you, it would really
No, absolutely. I see. No, I let's be a little realistic. This is tough times. Okay. That I think those who live through this and come out standing at the other end of the COVID tunnel are not only going to be tougher, but they're going to be stronger. and they're going to be able to run for the longer period, right? And I think that is what all of us should try and do. That's very, very important, right? Just stay put, just remain standing. That's the most important thing. And the only way you can stand is you conserve cash. There's no way you can do it, right?
Right.
Second, I think you start to assess your teams. Who are those who are sticking with you through the toughest times, right? And you start recognizing or seeing new facets of people, correct? You're, who are those people who are suddenly coming up with some very innovative ideas, going beyond beyond hours, beyond duty to do things. You're suddenly seeing glimpses of what would have taken you 2 years to figure out about a person. Number three, it's given you an opportunity, as I said a little earlier, to rethink and say, what am I doing? How can I do better? What are the new strategies I can adopt? Is there a better way to do things? And typically when you're cash constrained, you're always going to think of these things. So overall, you're building a discipline, right, for more value out of the buck.
Right.
I think that's the way I look at it. That's the way I've been handling this period. I mean, I've been thinking through how much, how far.
Right.
And that's very important.
Absolutely, ma'am. Now, one last question before we sign off. Do you think this is getting over? I know there's no answer to this, but do you think this is getting over on 14th, 15th April, or do you think it's going to go longer for tier 1 cities?
So I don't know what will happen, but what I do think is all of us should plan that this will go on. Okay, you have to plan for that, because there is, looking at numbers, looking at statistics, all of that is fine, and we do need to keep updated. But when you plan for the worst. So I would suggest strongly that everybody plans that this will go much beyond 15th April. 15th April. It will go beyond. So whatever you plan in terms of your cash reserves, it has to go beyond, number one. Number two, please don't expect that when the lockdown opens up, you're going to be normal routine next day, clients are going to give you orders. Nothing like that is going to happen. Right? It's going to take a long time, assume 2 quarters at the minimum, for things to start looking up.
2 quarters. That's
wow. So this year you need to understand it's a wipeout.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're not planning for 15 days, you're planning for 15 months.
Yeah. Right, ma'am. Right, absolutely, ma'am. We are on it, and we are all, no doubt, trying our best. I mean, sleepless nights is just very little to put the thing across, but we are all trying our best. I hope we get past this, and it's very nice to hear from people like you. It's good to know that, yes, we are all in this together and we can fight it. Thank you so much, ma'am. Any other last thoughts that you might want to talk about to all founders?
I just think entrepreneurs are born optimists. Entrepreneurs you guys have to lead us into optimism, not us into you. Okay, so you are going to make it. Believe in yourselves. It is not going to be easy, but listen, if it was easy, you wouldn't have chosen this path. So go for it. You're going to make it happen, and reach out for any help.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.